I couldn't be more excited to have joining us from the United Kingdom, none other than Tony Gaziano, co-founder of Gaziano Girling, and of course an incredibly talented bespoke last maker. So Tony, thank you for joining us from your home workshop. And so you're joining us from your home workshop right now. So is this in the attic or where is this?
It's above my garage, so
Okay.
it's separate from the house, so I can lock myself away from the house as well as the world.
Let's talk a little bit more kind of about you and about Gaziano and Girling. I mean, I'm so thrilled, and I think it's a really great timing to actually be with you in your home workshop because, recently, of course, you and Dean have kind of stepped back in to Bespoke at Gaziano and Girling. So, talk to us a little bit about that because, that's for me, of course, someone that's followed, you and that's followed Gaziano and Girling for such a long time. I mean, I still remember whenever you guys first started, 10, 12, 15 years ago, and, it was, Tony Gaziano, incredibly talented, last maker and designer, and Dean Girling, exceptionally talented bottom maker and maker, kind of joining together to really kind of push the boundaries of ready-to-wear English footwear. And you guys actually started in Bespoke. I mean, working together, that's how you funded, kind of the startup. And so I just think it's really exciting to see you guys, after all this time kind of coming full circle and stepping back into the Bespoke workshop. I mean, I think that's a really big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously kind of, 14, 15 years ago when we started the business, there was only me and Dean. I was working in a similar environment to what I'm working now. In a garage, and Dean was in a shed in his garden, and we made all of the shoes between the two of us. And as the business progressed over the years, the business demanded that I be kind of more of a factory manager, and Dean become more of a financial director. We took those roles, those things on willingly, and but I think there was always something missing, and I found probably after quite a few years of doing it, as much as I love the factory, and I love developing new designs for the factory, my heart's not in managing a factory. And we have a new guy now who's been with us for about 3 years, and he's doing a great job of managing, probably better than what I did. So it's given us the opportunity. It's certainly given me the opportunity to kind of move back into the role of managing the Bespoke. And overseeing the factory from time to time, but also doing a lot of the design work for the manufactured shoes. What I've realised coming back is that that's where my heart and soul is, and as a person, I'm much happier now that I'm being creative more regularly. And I think the same with Dean. I mean, Dean's probably finding it a little bit harder to get back into it because he's still very much involved in the financial side of the business, so he has to fit it in where he can. We've actually had a few telephone conversations and quite a laugh about reminding ourselves how to do these things.
Yeah.
And I think after all these years, we've gained an experience of customer experience, and our customer knowledge and what the customers are looking for is greater probably than what it was, all those years ago. So some of the ways that I'm doing things are slightly different now, and I'm probably better than what I used to be, and I'm sure probably Dean would say the same thing as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've spoken, of course, to a lot of kind of the last makers in and around kind of the West End, and there's a few that I've bumped into that just kind of remember, you back, whenever you were beginning, and just having kind of a talent and kind of a rock of eye, as a tailor would call it. But last making is more than a technical skill; it's really a design skill, and so I've always been of the, just kind of the understanding, the impression, kind of the more people I met, is that to really be an exceptional last maker, I mean, you have to be technical in your approach, but you have to also have just an eye for shapes and to be able to see the silhouette and the sculpture to it. How would you describe that? I mean, is that just something that really comes naturally to you and you just have always kind of been design oriented and you see these shapes, or is that something you've worked on? And how much of that is instinct versus, kind of technical practice?
I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. I'm probably even a slightly different last maker to what I was kind of 15. I don't know, I've been making last now for, I don't know, 20, 25 years, something like that. And, and your focus changes through the years. You first of all, you start making lasts for yourself, in the ways that you want to make last, really without kind of taking the customer into consideration other than the fit, and now, it's easier for me to read customers and kind of anticipate, what they want from the end result. Luckily, I was a designer before, I was a last maker. So, I've developed my eye quite far before I started to make the lasts. When I started at Cleverly's all those years ago, most of my last making was formulated around getting the fit right. Mm-hmm. Now it's developed into anticipating customers' requirements and really maximizing the elegance of the last and the shoe that fits their particular foot type. So it can be, and it's something that you can't necessarily articulate in words. It's something that your eye learns and you see, and it develops with every last that you make. So as you take as much measurement details as you can, and every last is a different story. So and that can depend upon the style the customer wants, the foot type, the build the customer has, and it's there's a lot of ingredients into kind of getting that last right.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely can see how that's like that. And so I mean, what is it about last making kind of you love the most? I mean, is it kind of the final product, or is it the challenge of kind of really molding those different kind of competing elements together? Fit, and then kind of the final kind of shape.
I think it's finalizing the last. Actually, what a lot of people don't understand is that last making physically is really quite hard work and laborious. So you can start off with an oversized lump of wood, and you might have a guy that has a lot of features to his feet, like bunions, high arches, low arches, narrow heel, wide joint, hammer toes, all these different things that you kind of you kind of work around. So that's the first basically stage of the last, is just getting the rough shape of the last, and that's really the laborious side of it, and where all the hard work goes in. That side of it, is I don't mind, but I prefer the end result when you start shaping the toes up and you start sanding it down, and then you finish it off and you look at it, and the last itself, it looks like a work of art rather than just a accumulation of lumps and bumps.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I mean, that's one of the things that I really love so much about bespoke shoemaking is just the sculpture of it, and that if done properly, you really end up with something that's so much more than just a pair of shoes, right, that you walk in. I mean, you can really end up with something that's very inspirational and inspired, and that is beautiful. and a really
Yeah.
perfectly executed pair of bespoke shoes. I mean, to me, is one of the most beautiful, beautiful items, at least of clothing, that a man can own. There's just
Well,
something about it so well done, and you can see that whenever it all comes together. It's just beautiful.
oh, I mean, let's not forget, and it's no understatement that the bespoke shoes are a work of art. Whoever makes them, there literally is so much work involved in kind of moving towards that end product that it's it's probably the most detailed form of craftsmanship in the clothing industry. And when we always say to our customers, we want to make their shoes look so good you prefer to put them on a shelf rather than put them on your feet,
Yeah.
because you don't want to ruin them by walking around in them. But you have to take your hat off to every bespoke shoemaker, because it's hard work, and there's so many great shoes around there, and they a lot of them these days, they look like works of art more than just shoes.
Well, and that's another element about bespoke shoemaking that I think is really important, is that, not only do you have to get the finalized shoe beautiful, right, and it's got to all come together, but it's also got to be something that still is pragmatic, that you can walk in, that at the end of the day isn't killing your feet. And I can speak for a lot of my bespoke shoes of just how exceptionally comfortable they are. And, not only are they beautiful, but, you can walk all day with them and they just all but disappear from your feet. And it's so counter to what most people associate with leather dress shoes that you can see why why so many people these days would just prefer to wear a pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's the ultimate goal in bespoke shoemaking is to make something look so sublime, but you can forget that you got it on your feet because it's so comfortable. There's an old saying which I'm sure many of your followers have heard. If there's two things you want to invest in life, is a good bed and a good pair of shoes, because you're
Yeah,
either in one or the other.
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and there's I'd say at least 50 to 60% of our customers, they come to us because, not just because the shoes are so beautiful, but because they go through the days in a very uncomfortable experience. They could be very high grade, ready to wear, made to order shoes, but they haven't quite got the fit right. And I'm sure many guys can attest to the fact that if you're not comfortable in your shoes, it's a distraction all day. So and this is where we can kind of push the boat out a little bit further, and really kind of get that level of comfort and fit absolutely bang on.
Yeah, and so I see that you're sitting right there at your design desk, and of course, I mean, you have designed all of Gaziano Girling's range. I mean, that's kind of part of what your role in the company has been. Whenever you're approaching your bespoke stuff, are you designing those patterns also, or is that something that you're getting help from the other team members? Because of course, you guys still have a team. And then in addition to that, what are some of the things that you're working on now, maybe for the ready-to-wear stuff? Just because I know that's a question people have.
Yeah, I mean, a majority of the original designs that come through the company do come through me from an upper point of view, but a lot of the design of soles and the execution of the finishing and that come from Dean. That's why we make such a great team. But we also have great other makers. There's a young guy called Sam who works for us, who actually does a lot of design work on the bespoke as well. We share the customers.
Yeah, Sam.
And
Sam Norrisworthy.
Yeah,
of course.
that's right. Yeah. And Sam is he's a multi-talented guy. He can do patina. He can do closing, which is stitching the uppers, and he can do the pattern work as well.
Yeah.
So, we're not, me and Dean don't take all the credit.
No, of course not. Yeah.
Our shoes go through all members of our team, and they're all super talented.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the other benefits of, you having the ready-to-wear kind of the ready-to-wear factory, in conjunction with the bespoke workshop, is that you can really kind of skill share, right? So, as my understanding is that the same people that'll stitch the uppers on a ready-to-wear pair of shoes might stitch the uppers on a bespoke pair of shoes. And it's because the people that do the ready-to-wear stuff are just so talented that they can kind of transition and, do the bespoke stuff. It's all at the same standard.
Well, there's a little bit of difference there. We do have two workers in the factory, Sam and Kay, and Kay is in charge of the stitching room. She does work on bespoke work, but to be honest with you, Kirby, the factory guys are super talented, but most of them, we have a complete separation for bespoke. But
I'm just speaking specifically with the closing of the uppers, or the sewing of them together.
Yeah.
Because of course the bespoke making is totally different than what the ready-to-wear stuff is done.
That's right. Yeah.
So what are you working on right there? I mean, I see you're at your kind of design desk. I mean, is there anything, at the moment that you're working on that you might be able to show us?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a few things going on at the moment. Do you want me to pick the phone up and come and show you? Or
yeah, no, we'd love that. No, please.
Yeah. Let me just bear with me 1 second. Oh, sorry, it disappeared for a second there.
Yep. There we go. Yep. Turn it sideways. Perfect.
All right. So I think you can see here that I'm working on a pair of slippers at the moment. Can you see those?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these are embroidered slippers for a customer in Singapore, I think he is. And he's requested a glass of whiskey, cigar, and ashtray. So, I've put it on. I've actually had to cut the pattern for the last, and I have actually drawn the design onto there. So I'm going to send it to cut it, send it to the embroiderers, and they'll embroider it in that exact position to the. So these are quite interesting. I enjoy doing the designs. So along the back there, you can see. It's all right. I'm trying to see what you can see. So all of these shoes last are completed, and I've done the finalized designs for the customers, and they're waiting to be cut. And they can only be cut and stitched when I get back to the factory. So then we have.
So you're really catching up on your backlog of bespoke stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said earlier, I'm probably busier than what I normally am because all of these shoes. Actually, we're getting ready. Our shoe tree maker is still working, so I'm getting these ready to send to the shoe tree maker. I'm going to slip the last, send them out, and then they can come back and we can. Between me and Sam, we can kind of color them up and get them sent out to the customer still. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of variation of styles there. You see the old-fashioned butterfly loafer,
of course,
which I'm pointing at.
And those are all bespoke models right there.
These are all bespoke models, yeah. So we have some made-to-order models here. So let me see if I can. Show you. Okay, so these ones. Now, some of these customers won't remember this. This is kudu, and kudu is South African deer skin. It has a certain kind of print on it. Now, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, we found a whole batch of this from the 1960s in one of the leather merchants in Northampton, and people liked it. It's got a real kind of unique kind of grain on it. Comes in two colors. It comes in like a reddy chestnut color and a dark brown color. And so anyway, we worked with the tannery to kind of resurrect the skin. So we're now actually kind of gonna release this soon. And we're going to release it with a made-to-order promotion that'll start next week. So, you know, what we're going to do is drop the made-to-order surcharge, like we did earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And we're going to make some of these special materials available.
So is that the Stamford right there? Stamford and Kudu?
Yeah, that's a Stamford in Kudu.
Beautiful. Double
Yeah.
oak bark sole.
Yeah, double leather sole with a storm welt. I mean, obviously, if customers order it made to order, they can have what they want. There's also the sort boot, which is in like a dark brown kudu as well. It's beautiful, beautiful boot. And then we have something that we've been known for to not want to work with, but you know, we're starting to work with it now, is cordovan. So
is
here
that a
we
hatched
have like
grain cordovan?
that's a hatch grain cordovan, yeah.
Really?
So
Wow.
well, it's something that we thought was particularly beautiful, you know, and hatch grain's very popular for us anyway, but the cordovan actually gives it a little bit of extra kind of depth. And so again, you know, this is gonna be included in the promotion as well with 50% off the cordovan surcharge.
Wow.
We're gonna do it in multiple different colors. That's a beautiful color shoe as well.
Is that the hatch grain cordovan also?
Yeah, that's the hatch grain cordovan as well.
And you can hand sew that apron even on cordovan, which is a pretty tough skin.
Yeah, I mean, we do this kind of hand sewing, but the skin stitching, for those that know what skin stitching is, that's more difficult. So we probably stick to this kind of apron.
And is the skin stitching the one that's kind of underneath the surface? You don't see it
That's
on the
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, calf has a memory and it grips the thread. With cordovan, if you pull too much, it'll pull straight through. So it's you know, we're not prepared to kind of give customers something that potentially has a weakness. So you know, we stick to that kind of thing. And then we have some bespoke shoes as well. Again,
Gosh,
all
that's
the
beautiful.
waists. Yeah.
I love the sole finishing. The bottom finishing is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, you know, what else do we have? Some last making, which I'm in the middle of at the moment. So getting fittings ready, and you can see the mess that I make on a daily basis.
Yeah, but there's no way to avoid it, right?
No, luckily I have this machine at the back which is supposed to suck all the sawdust up, but doesn't always do a very good job. So
yeah, well, you know, you probably would prefer to listen to music than to listen to that thing while you're working.
Yeah. So that's a little tour of the workshop as well, you know.
Well, it looks like a little piece of heaven. Where's the mini bar though? That's the question.
Well, I don't know about a mini bar, but I actually, you know, in the office side.
Oh, you even got your office there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Who needs
There's
to
a little
leave
bottle
home?
of wine there. Yeah. So actually used to be like a one-bedroom apartment, but we kind of crushed it down and turned it into a workshop. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So, you know, thank you for that. So, I mean, one of the things that I'm really kind of that I always marvel at is, you know, especially after kind of visiting the factory and doing the factory tour. I mean, if the people watching this live stream haven't seen our Gaziano and Girling factory tour, it's among, I think, of my favorite videos on the channel. I mean, you know, Tony, you know, invited us into the Gaziano and Girling factory, and then, you know, basically we walked through the entire process of how Goodyear welted, you know, machine-made shoe is made at the Gaziano and Girling factory, from, you know, the point of actually clicking the leather, you know, all the way to the polishing with Pete Bultitude, who I actually think is joining us on this live stream today. So, you know, Pete's here, I guess, you know, you know, so, you know, I was just blown away how, you know, every single person at every step of the way just had kind of a pride and an attention to detail, right? So, you know, how did you guys assemble a team like that? I mean, such a talented team of incredible people that are also so dedicated to their skill and their craft themselves, all in one factory together.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, after years of working in the industry, you kind of you tend to keep tabs on people that you know are a little bit special. You know, and there's a few of those guys that you know, when we started, they kind of recognise, they turned around and sent an email to me or Dean and said, hey guys, can I come on board? And and we welcome them with open arms. A lot of the other ones as well, they're probably, some of the guys were, it's hard to explain, probably some of them were working in kind of 60s and 70s when, even manufacturing was different to modern day manufacturing. And as time has gone on, the factories that they've worked for have become more and more and more mass production. And they kind of looked at what we were doing and said, for the last 20 years of my working life, I probably want to kind of relax a bit and enjoy what I'm doing a little bit, and and they've come on board, and then also you've got the young guys. There's a new wave of people that are coming through social media. I probably get an email a week for a request for an apprentice, and unfortunately we can't take them all on, but occasionally we do, and we try to develop them in the way that they understand what Gaziano Girling's about, and probably 50% of them become something special, and we've got a very special team, not just in talent, but in their own personal characters. There's a lot of nice, beautiful people in there.
Yeah, I hear the Christmas parties are epic.
Oh yeah. You'll have to come one year.
Yeah. I'd wonder if I'd make it back, Bunch of shoemakers,
not for a while.
Partying at a Christmas party. No, but how big is the team there at the factory?
So in the factory, we've got probably around about 23, 24 people.
Okay.
We work slightly different to most factories. So everybody that works in the factory is multi-skilled. They probably have 3 or 4 different skills, and that way we can keep the shoemaking tight. Again, in some of the much bigger factories, they'll have one guy work on each machine, whereas we'll have probably one guy working on 3 different machines, and and on top of that, we have to train some of them up to do things by hand. Like you said earlier, we've incorporated a lot of bespoke processes into the shoemaking of our made-to-order product, which is what makes it look, a little bit more, a little bit nicer than usual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So, what else? We've got some questions here from the guys. So do you do, how many, will you guys bring on apprentices throughout the year? Is that, you guys are limited by virtue of kind of being a small team, but are you seeing a renewed interest in young people in the craft? Because for the longest time, part of the challenge of running a factory was just finding, tradespeople that could do the work and that were still working.
I think that on the bespoke side, definitely, we get a mixture of people that are completely new, completely green to it, and they want to learn from scratch. And then you get semi kind of experienced craftsmen that really want to kind of push their craftsmanship to the limit. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what position we're in as a company at the time, because obviously, we want apprentices, but apprentices also can be a little bit distracting as well for the production of the bespoke. I think what we could do with more interested in is the manufacturing side. That side is less glamorous, and it's less glamorous to the people that are looking at it, but actually it's still fairly, it's still a very high level of craftsmanship, and it's something that people should be proud of as well. So we Prince Charles with the Prince's Trust has kind of said that we might be able to help with something on that
the
side.
Prince's Trust, basically funding apprentices, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and it's bringing young people into businesses that basically that have had a bad time. They're struggling to kind of get into job positions, and you know, and some of them are, you know, some of them come around the factory, and I find them very interesting, their attitude towards it. So, you know, there's lots of possibilities for the future, bringing young people in.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a balance between running a business and
Yeah.
keeping and having to kind of manage the people that you bring
Yeah.
in.
No, that is a challenge. Now, how are the Prince of Wales shoes coming along? I mean, I saw the last time we were in London, you know, we had an opportunity to see the beautiful shoes that you did for them. We actually, I think, even have a review video of them on this channel. You know, my understanding is that, you know, you and Dean are working on a pair of, are they made to order or bespoke shoes for him?
No, they're full bespoke. So the first one that was in the video was a made to order pair that we made for him, and when we actually met him to try and fit them, they were a little bit too small, but he took them anyway, and he actually gave them to Prince Harry.
Yeah. Okay.
So Prince Harry has those shoes. They're probably in Canada at the moment.
Yeah, they're probably in Canada. You know.
And then we made His Royal Highness a pair of bespoke shoes, pretty much exactly the same, without the feathers on the back of the heel.
Okay.
So
now, do you still have didn't you have a special medallion though, on the cap?
Yeah, we did have a special medallion. So he had those with the medallion, and then he ordered another pair in black. So the style that we call St. James. He had a pair in black without the medallion.
On the
and
cap.
now we're making him a third pair now.
So I think we might actually have some video of the Prince of Wales shoes. I don't know if Christian can pull those up. If we can, we'll show them to everyone. So you've got basically 3 pairs you've done for him. You know, the original one, was it in that special kind of a claret burgundy finish that was gorgeous?
Yeah. So that's what we call Margot.
The Margot, yes.
It's like a Margot patina. So the shoes actually started off yellow, and then were patinaed up to that kind of deep claret kind of color.
Yeah. And then you did a second pair in black. Was it essentially the same shoe?
It was exactly the same shoe. We added a little bit of extra comfort in there for him because, you know, he spends a lot of time on his feet.
Yeah. And what does that mean? Like, I mean, what will you do to a shoe to add additional comfort?
So we have a padding that we use in the industry called Poron, which is probably the #1 sponge that you can use for padding for many different reasons. And one of the reasons why it's so good is because it has a continuous memory, so it always springs back. So, you know, we completely padded the insole, the inner sole out inside his shoe, and then we put, you know, a nice lining over the top of it, and you know, so you know, he feels cushioned all through the day. So,
oh, that's great. And then, so let's see. What else? We've got some other questions. So, you know, we asked about those. And then what about, I mean, so a lot of people, you know, are asking just kind of about hole cuts. So when doing a hole cut, can you just kind of talk through kind of the special process that a hole cut goes through? And I guess in particular, a seamless hole cut, which is even, you know, it's like a hole cut to the next level.
Yeah. So a hole cut is probably a special shoe for 2 reasons. I mean, one, that the leather has to be absolutely 100% immaculate. You've got a large area of a pattern of a large area of the skin that needs to be cut without veins or growth marks or flaws in the leather. You know, which in this day and age is quite a hard thing to do because, you know, skins are, you know, they have all these natural characteristics, and but with the other patterns like a brogue or whatever, the smaller sections you can cut around the imperfections. So with a hole cut Oxford, you can't. So you have to. It simply has to be cut out of. You know, it might take 3 or 4 skins, a selection of 3 or 4 skins to get the right skin and then you have to choose the right area. So, you know, that's one reason why, you know, a normal hole cut, that is a little bit special. You know, the other reason is that with any hole cut shoe, whether it's seamless or not seamless, you have to mold the upper. And what I mean by mulling is that you kind of wet the leather, you let it dry. It has to be at the perfect state to last, because you're essentially lasting a flat piece of leather around a curved last, and it can be quite difficult to shape. So, you know, there's a lot of craft in that, a lot of skill involved in that. So that's a normal hole cut.
Yeah.
With a seamless hole cut, it's even more complicated. I mean, basically, with the seamless hole cut, you almost work backwards with the pattern. So you don't. Whereas with most shoes, you cut patterns like I've shown you on the, you know, what I was doing earlier. You cut the leather out, you stitch it together, and then you pull it over the last. With the seamless hole cut, you have to cut out a big area of leather without a pattern. Again, you have to mull it to get it to that kind of the right state to kind of last it with, and then it takes probably a good hour plus to get rid of all the seams. It's really hard to kind of explain. I mean, you know, if you take a last here, and you've got a flat piece of leather, you know, as soon as you bend it over, you get these huge pleats around this area, and all that has to be lost. So basically, you can only do this if you're a very, very good laster, and you pull it in many different ways. You might last it, you might have to take it to bits, you might have to last it again until the leather completely covers the whole last. And only at that point do you then start to make the pattern to actually cut it out. And most of the time when you're cutting out around a three-dimensional shape. So it's making a seamless hole cut and a normal hole cut are actually really very different. And you know, I think we charge the same for seamless hole cuts, but to be honest with you, it should be a 20% surcharge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those shoes that you could really only find bespoke, because it would be impossible to replicate that in a ready-to-wear factory at scale.
Yes, definitely.
So, okay, my next question is, so what is the time frame from the initial design of a shoe to its implementation? So, I mean, you do a lot of design work. So, you know, about how long does it take from you kind of having, you know, an idea in your head, and then kind of working through the pattern work to the point where you can actually take it to the factory? I imagine it's probably quite an extensive process.
Yeah, it can be. Yes, it can, because, you know, I won't go into the bespoke side of it at the moment, but there is a different type of perfection with a manufactured pattern. You know, you don't have to kind of get it right just for a size 8, for example. You have to get it right for a size 9, 10, 11, 12, or the other way down to a size 5. You know, there are you have to work around some of the machines, the pattern, so that you know, the machines are grabbing the leather in the right way. You know, it doesn't want too much leather to grab or too little leather, or if it hasn't got enough leather, it won't be able to kind of grab it. So, you know, so basically, what I do generally is I don't actually sit down and think, right, I'm going to design a shoe. You tend to be influenced as things go along, and all of a sudden you think, bang, you know, something comes in, you think, oh, that would be a good idea. But then I stop what I'm doing, and then I start work, no matter what I'm doing, then I'll start work on the design of that, the proportions of that shoe. So we cut a pattern that is as close to what we think we want it as can be, and then we make up a sample pattern. But obviously, depending on the materials you use and the last, it can change when it's actually on the shoe. So we roughly pull it over. We make notes, we draw on the shoe, and then we go back to the pattern and alter the pattern, and then we make up another one. And that can really happen probably 3 or 4 times before you get it exactly where you want it. So, I mean, if I didn't have anything else to do, I could probably do it within a week and a half. But I think, you know, with all the other distractions, normally it probably takes, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 weeks to kind of get a design right.
Yeah. And what's the most recent kind of new release or kind of new launch that you've had at Gaziano and Girling?
Well, you know, we've actually got a few things in the pipeline. We're going to come up with a new concept of how customers can choose designs that we haven't made before, which will probably become, which we'll release later in the year. But I've actually got 2 designs in the factory at the moment, which are complete, but we're not ready to release yet. So I can't remember what the last one we released was. So it's probably the Stamford, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
You know, again, it can change depending on how busy I am. You know, with coming back into the bespoke so heavily, it's kind of minimised the time I could spend on design. So what I try and do is get ahead on design, and then leave a little bit of time to kind of do some, some development work for the main factory.
Yeah. So I know that you guys are adding the new kudu finish, or leather, which is, that you said it was an African deer. You know, what other materials do you work with that are kind of really unique and interesting that, again, kind of that epitomize and represent kind of Gaziano and Girling's kind of commitment to the craft and access to certain kind of unique and rare things?
Well, you know, I think, you know, we've been fortunate enough to become known for a wide variety of different things. You know, one of my favourite leathers, and I'm not sure if I'd wear it myself, but when I look at it in other people's shoes, I think, oh my God, this is just beautiful. And that is the Nubuck alligator.
Yeah.
And
kind of like the slightly suede alligator.
The suede alligator. I mean, it takes the kind of bling away from it, you know, and it just looks beautiful on the right last, you know, and on the right style, which generally is a style with no detail, you know, it really comes into its own, you know, and that is probably one of my favorite materials, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like a, I guess it'd make a great, like a great monk strap. I mean, I've seen it in a single monk. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And then we're working on developing some peccary at the moment, which is which we can patina in any color that we want.
Wow.
So I mean, you know, patina for me is a huge bonus to our business. You know,
yeah.
I don't think really many other the British guys do it.
Yeah, well, I think you guys were the first, and it's a rare opportunity to really make a pair of made-to-order shoes totally your own.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, some of the colours that Sam and Peter do are just incredible. They give the shoe so much depth and energy. You know, it turns even a made-to-order shoe into an ornament.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, just look at that Margot finish you did for the Prince of Wales. I mean, that thing's just, I mean, you see that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, in addition to all of the other elements of craft and finish, you know, that make a Gaziano and Girling shoe, you know, you layer that on top, and it really takes it to the next level. And, you know, especially with that particular finish, I mean, I know that you guys run the gamut, but, I mean, there's a subtlety to it that still, you can tell, has depth and nuance to it, and that makes it one of a kind.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've been through a little bit of a journey with patina, where some of the original first patinas maybe had a little bit too much contrast. But I think that we've moved to the point now where the patina that we like to develop is very understated, and it's all about depth and the beauty of it, rather than the the kind of loud side of patina. I mean, obviously, if customers really want that kind of really energetic kind of extreme contrast, and they're more than welcome to have it. But from our taste, for our brand, I think it's all about subtlety, depth, and the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Well, one last question. We've got someone on here that wants to know if you can make a size 14 UK for him. And that's a pretty gigantic shoe, but I would imagine that's something you guys can do.
Yeah, no, we go up to 15s UK, and we go up to H fitting as well. So,
yeah. Well, I know that ready to wear. You guys have kind of your standard D width, right? Or is it an E, A, B, C, D, E? So in the UK, it's an E.
yeah.
But you guys will do basically anything made to order. I mean, you've got various different widths and sizes that you guys can accommodate that might not be stock, but you'll make it for them.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if the customer's willing to pay, I mean, in terms of made to order, it's not a huge surcharge. You can pay, a couple of £100, and you can have for anything from a size 3 to a size 15s. You can have it from B fitting to H fitting. Really, we really do cover. We even add some small fittings to allow for extra width on small toes, and the customer's got a high instep, then we'll alter. And that's without going bespoke. So
yeah. Well, I'm actually, in honor of this video this morning, whenever I was getting ready, I actually put on one of my first pair of shoes that I bought for you. It's, we'll pull it up here. I mean, this is the Warwick, I believe. Is that the Warwick with the, I could be wrong on that, but this is in the vintage Rioja. And this is, I think, one of the first shoes, really nice shoes that I bought. And this was, gosh, such a long time ago.
All right.
And, they still look beautiful. That's the Haze.
Haze, yeah.
Hague.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that you were able to do that still, again, was a big deal for me at the time is you built up the instep, which normally for a dress shoe is something that absolutely kills my feet.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're a very flexible company, and, we're probably the factory's quite unique in the way that, almost 50-60% of our production is single pairs. Normally manufacturers they don't want single pairs. They want they want bulk lines of shoes because it's easier to produce. So I think that we realised very quickly that our niche really had to be personalisation and individuality. So we kind of welcome these personal things.
Yeah, and do you do ladies' shoes also?
We do a small range of lady shoes. We've got some samples in the shop, and we do very small men's as well. So, some ladies, they come along and they want the ladies' shoes. Other women come along and they want actually their shoes to look a little bit more masculine, which is there's a fashion to that at the moment.
Yeah, and so you can kind of take it down and then taper the width, to accommodate, say a smaller, more slender foot. Even in a model that would otherwise be for a man.
Yeah, no, it's not uncommon that a gentleman will come in with his wife, and his wife ends up having a pair as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, Tony, thank you so much for joining us, and please send, my best regards to Dean, and, keep up the great work, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully soon in London, because I really want to get measured for a new bespoke pair of shoes. Where you and Dean are doing the work. I think that would be just a true kind of bucket list item for me.
Proper G&G experience.
Yeah, the proper G&G. I mean, to have a last maker like you, I mean, you just don't, you just don't see that. I mean, very often to be able to have, one of the originals do a pair of shoes for you. So.
You're very flattering.
Well, it's, I couldn't be any more appreciative of kind of your passion and work. And you know, here on this channel, I mean, everyone that's joined, I mean, we kind of share the same passion for quality craftsmanship and tradition. And so, you know, I really appreciate you kind of helping steward those values forward in what you do as a shoemaker.
No, I think, you know, I'd like to take an opportunity as well, Kirby, to thank you for what you do for all of our industry, because, you know, you give us great exposure, and you know, you really carry that message to an audience that we would not normally be able to get to. So, you know, thank you very much, and the Hanger Project and everybody else that's behind the scenes. And, you know, you guys stay safe as well.
Yeah. Now, anyone that wants more information about Gaziano Girling, of course, they've got an incredible Instagram page. We can pull that up. This is Tony's personal one, Tony Gaziano, and then you can kind of see some of his own work there. This is, I guess, probably focused a little bit more on some of the bespoke stuff. But then, of course, Gaziano and Girling, you know, the brand has its own website and its own Instagram page, too. So check those out. But anyway, hey, Tony, thank you so much. Send my regards to everyone, and, you know, we'll chat soon.
Yeah. Okay, Kirby, you take care, and thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye.